The work that goes into adapting a book to film is misunderstood by many. While there are a fair share of novels that have been adapted well, there are just as many films that adapt a book poorly and are quickly forgotten. There's no real formula for quantifying how a novel should translate over to picture, as movies and books are created in entirely distinct ways. Because of this, film adaptations have to rebuild the essence of the book from the ground up. In order to properly adapt a book to film, one must do so in a way that preserves the feel of the source material while still elaborating on the material in a way that only a film can. In this video, we're going to cover the challenges of adapting books, and common ways that adaptations succeed or fail on the big screen. A challenge in adapting most written stories is deciding how to convey the thoughts of characters. In original films, this isn't a problem, as the director and cinematographer have a host of tools to convey thought without words.
I'm one of your biggest supporters, you know. I tell everybody that comes in this taxi that they have to vote for you.
Why, thank you. Travis?
In No Country for Old Men, Llewellyn Moss poses a unique predicament regarding this issue. While Llewellyn has thoughts and feelings, they almost exclusively relate to the environment and action of the story in very specific ways. Of course, there are ways to get around this. American Psycho has Patrick Bateman narrate his scenes.
I'm on the verge of tears by the time we arrive at a spas, since I'm positive we won't have a decent table.
And this generally serves his character well, as he's supposed to be a needlessly wordy and glib psychopath. However, Llewellyn Moss is an entirely different type of character, and to have him narrate each and every one of his thoughts would make him come off the wrong way. The Coen brothers settled on having him voice brief thoughts out loud that hint at his thoughts rather than fully explain them.
What if you stop? You stopped in shade.
Even though it might seem jarring to have a protagonist blatantly state what they're thinking, Moss is a character who, by nature, is straightforward. The solution the film's writers came to serves his character, so it doesn't feel out of place. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest faces a similar challenge that, on the contrary, is handled poorly. Chief Bromden, the main character, is mute for most of the story. In the novel, this isn't an issue because he's the narrator. This becomes a challenge, however, in the translation to film. The adaptation opted to replace Bromden as the main character with Randall McMurphy in order to fix this issue. On paper, this might sound like a decent adjustment, but it doesn't hold up in execution. The story wasn't written to accommodate McMurphy as the protagonist. While he occupies a large piece of the story and is a main character, the novel is from Bromden's perspective, and without his input, the movie misses out on a large part of the appeal. The negative impact of this choice is felt most when Bromden escapes from the psychiatric ward. In the novel, this final scene feels natural because Bromden is the protagonist. In the film, however, it does not. At this point in the narrative, McMurphy has been lobotomized, so the perspective must shift to Bromden, which effectively ruins the flow of the film. While the film for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is generally entertaining in its own right, this change fundamentally hinders its quality. There are times in which the medium of film serves an adaptation very well. The director can further contextualize the language of a book in a way that brings much quicker understanding to the scene.
As we walked along the flat block marina, I was calm on the outside, but thinking all the time.
Another advantage to film adaptations can be seen through the character of Anton Chigurh, the antagonist of No Country for Old Men. Chigurh is a character who is threatening but simultaneously mysterious, traits that are admittedly difficult to pick up on while reading. To illustrate the difference visual aid and audio can make, take a look at the written scene from the novel and compare it to the corresponding scene from the film.
You lived here all your life?
This is my wife's father's place, originally.
You married into it?
We lived in Temple, Texas for many years. Raised a family there in Temple. We come out here about 4 years ago.
You married into it?
That's the way you want to put it.
Well, I don't have some way to put it. That's the way it is.
Javier Bardem's acting, paired with the visual design, serves to enhance his harrowing presence. The film's depiction of Anton Chigurh allows his character to be easily understood and simultaneously nuanced. It's clear that adaptations of books take a lot of deliberation and thought to come to fruition. At any given moment, a movie adaptation can easily go off the rails. The next time you see a film adaptation of one of your favorite books, try to consider the work that goes into adapting the source material before you judge it.